Everyone. We are here broadcasting from the 2025 Science Summit that is taking place alongside the UNGA General Assembly of Sessions. We're very excited to be here and wanted to thank the Science Summit staff for giving us this opportunity to share about KAILASA, the world's only Hindu civilizational nation, and the various solutions it has to offer to our very serious economic problems facing the world today. So thank you to the staff for giving us this platform and opportunity to participate in the Science Summit. Yeah, I'm just going to share our presentation. We are here speaking on behalf of the United States of KAILASA, which is the ancient, enlightened Sanatana Hindu Dharma civilization, the only Hindu nation on the planet. And we are very excited to be part of the UNGA Science Summit here in New York, taking place this year. Today, we'll be talking about KAILASA's enlightenment-based economy. It's a revolutionary and radical new approach that is fundamentally rooted in Hindu dharma, Hindu ethics, Hindu philosophy, and Hindu scriptures. So it's very new for the modern world, but it's very ancient in actuality. And its goal is to provide a solution for global prosperity, equity, and solving the various crises facing the world today. It is a people-first economic model that puts people ahead of everything else. The basic idea being that a economic system only has legitimacy as insofar as it serves people and helps people. Before we begin, we're going to perform the Satguru Vandanam. This is the traditional Hindu invocation of our Guru's presence. Our Guru is SPH, Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam. He is the founder and leader of KAILASA, and we'll invoke him now. Nithyanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gaganasadrisham Tattvamasyaadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalmachalam Sarvadi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Satgurum Tam Namami. Today, our presenters are Sri Tattvananda Maharaj, a Hindu monk of the Sovereign Order of KAILASA, Sabesh Kanagaratnam, a CEO speaking on behalf of KAILASA Toronto, Ravi Tharoon, a CEO also speaking on behalf of KAILASA Toronto, and myself, Vinesh Rathore, an attorney speaking on behalf of KAILASA San Jose. Thank you all for joining us, and we're very happy to be here. SPH has spoken on COVID-19 being a period of inflection point, really, in modern civilization, where the old world order would be collapsing and a new paradigm would be taking its place. And now that we're a few years out past COVID, it's very clear his prediction was spot on accurate. Since COVID, we've seen the economic systems in most modern civilizations strain to their limits, taking on an increasing debt load to maintain their current quality of life. At the same time, we're seeing youth unemployment had skyrocketed during COVID and in the years after it as well. And now with AI, it's getting worse and worse. So COVID really was an inflection point, a point at which the old systems showed their weaknesses and new systems must take their place. And that's what we're here to discuss. Looking back to the ancient world and looking back to Hinduism as a model and as a guidepost to take us forward into the next century. Here, Swamiji speaking on COVID being a major pivot point in our modern civilization.
This message is directly from Mahakala Bhairava. Listen. Whatever conscious lifestyle you developed, conscious muscles you built, conscious powers you acquired, accumulated, till now, only that is going to be your strength in the post-corona world. Listen. All the conscious lifestyle strengths you accumulated, how much of ability to unclutch you developed, how much of powerful cognitions you built, how many hours a day you are able to keep yourself in a high state of consciousness, how many powers you are able to manifest consciously, powerfully, without self-doubt, self-hatred, self-denial. How much alive, life involved you are. Only these things are going to be your strength post-corona world. Listen carefully. Everything else you acquired, is not going to be with you. Corona, as I said, is not weapon, it is Shastra, knowledge. It is going to teach lessons, strong, powerful lessons to the world. It's not going to be a weapon. It's not going to kill the numbers like how you are made to believe or threatened. It may not even become world's #1 cause of death. Understand? But it is going to teach strong lessons to the world. Listen, whatever you thought you are thinking as your strength, your education, your career, your name and fame, your beauty, nothing is going to be your strength in post-corona world. Celebrities are losing their brand value, understand? Money is not going to bring all the things it used to bring to you in pre-corona world. In pre-corona world, whatever you can get by through money, post-corona world, you are not going to get that. Even if you have money, even if the money has a value, its ability to get things what you want is going to be lost drastically. If money can buy 100 items for you in pre-corona world, in post-corona world, it can buy only maybe maximum 2 or 3 things. Means the utility of the money, the ability of money to get what you want is going to be dropped 97%. understand, I'm going to publish this video. I'm going to put this on record. Corona is not going to become number one cause of death in the world. That's the first statement. Listen, number of deaths per year caused by cardiovascular diseases is something like 20.2 million. Directly related to heart, around 20.2 million per year. Corona is not going to kill that many number of people per year. Be very clear. It is not even going to be the world's leading cause of death. That's the first statement I am making. Second, but it is going to teach huge lessons to human beings. It teaches huge lessons to human beings. I made this statement the moment Corona pandemic started. Corona is not weapon to kill people. It is going to only teach lessons to people, strong lessons to people. It may not even become the number one cause of death per year, but it is going to change the world forever. It's going to teach large number of lessons. I tell you, whatever you thought useful in your life really will not be useful. All the great strategies you built in your life for things which you thought as the goal of your life will not fulfill the goals of your life anymore. Old world order is melting down.
Next, my co-presenters will be speaking on wealth inequality.
And Nithyanandam, everyone. Thank you, Vinesh. Next, we're going to look at the wealth inequality. The richest 1% of the adult globally hold a very large slice of global net worth. On the other hand, the poorest half of the global adult population together own less than 2% of the global wealth. In some cases, barely 1%. So wealth inequality differ a lot by country. Wealth inequality is generally more extreme than income inequality because wealth accumulate and compound over the time. So why it is matter and what it means? The poverty persistent and social mobility. The extreme wealth inequality can limit social mobility, expand poverty, and make it harder for people born into poorer circumstances to improve their economic prospect. The lack of assets or the safety net means the job loss, health emergencies like climate disaster are more likely to push people into poverty. So the global development and inequality, distribution of the wealth in a major barrier to meeting development goals. The inequality, economic insecurity, and distrust are increasingly undermining social cohesion and the long-term development. So in the bottom line, global wealth is highly concentrated at the top, with a very small share of people owning a large portion of the global wealth and a large portion of the population holding very little. This concentration has significant implication for poverty, social mobility, political power, and policy. While trends vary across countries and over time, the broad pattern is one of the persistent and often growing inequality, especially when we look at the wealth rather than just income. We can move to the next one. The youth unemployment. This is another problem, the economic problem. There are few issues with the youth unemployment. Economic problem, social problem, individual problem, and these are the main issues that we have. Let's look at the economic problem. When youth and unemployment increase, loss of productivity and growth, and also high physical cost and mismatch of skill and the jobs. Let's look at each of them, the lost productivity and the growth. When the large number of young people are unemployed or underemployed or unemployable, countries lose out of their potential contribution to the economy. The economists call this the scaring effect. The lost opportunities early in the life can permanently reduce lifetime earning and productivity. Let's look at the high physical cost to the countries. The government faces higher costs through unemployment benefit, social program, or loss of tax revenues. The long period of the youth unemployment strain public budget. So the next one is a mismatch of skill and the jobs. Many young people have education or training that doesn't match labor market demand. This results in both unemployment and underemployment. Let's look at the second problem, the social problem due to the youth unemployment. The poverty, inequality. The young people without a steady job are more likely to live in poverty, depend on family support, and struggle to access housing, healthcare, or further education. This widens inequality across generations. The next one, social unrest and instability. The high youth employment has been linked to frustration, protest, and even political instability. Idle, disillusioned young populations are more vulnerable to extremist movement or crime. So the next one, let's look at the next one, individual problems, the mental health, well-being. The prolonged joblessness is associated with the stress, anxiety, depression, and the lower self-esteem among youth. So delayed life milestones also affect or result of the unemployment. Youth unemployment often delayed financial independence, marriage, starting families, or buying houses, leading to the social and democratic impacts. Okay, why this is a matter? Youth, normally 15 to 24 old, make up about 16% of the global labor force, but account for a disproportionately high share of the unemployment. The youth are 3 times as likely as adults to be jobless. This isn't just a short-term crisis. It has a long-term effect on global development, political and stability, and also economic impact. In a short, and finally, in a short term, the youth unemployment wastes talents, slow growth, and also fuel inequality and undermine the stability. Without addressing it through education, reform, skill building, job creation, and social protection, countries risk losing a generation potential. It's so-called lost generation effect. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravi. So Ravi built up to the problem that we are facing today. The problem we're facing today, at the root of these problems lies the very structure of our modern economies, particularly their reliance on the fiat currency. As you may know, the fiat currency system is a currency system that's practiced globally, and it's based on a model where there is no backing, no physical assets that back the currency, and it's purely based on the trust of the economies and the trust of the people and the trust of the different institutions. In this model, a small group at the governance level controls the currency production, value, allowing banks, third-party enforcers, and the government to continuously enrich themselves at the expense of ordinary citizens. This system inherently lacks trust, needing external mechanisms to function. Moreover, this exploitative model has been extended to vital sectors, very vital sectors like education and healthcare, turning them into profit-driven enterprises rather than seeing them as basic services for the survival of the people. Ours, as in Kailasa's, our consumption-based economy further compounds this by fostering dependence on food-like products, which is a result of this profit-driven enterprises, which ultimately compromises public health. Okay. To the next slide, please. So what is all this giving us? This is essentially giving us a need for a new paradigm, a need to see what we have, and a need to see whether there is something else that we can get. His Holiness SPH Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam reminds us that human life is fundamentally more precious than any economic system. As a matter of fact, the economic system is supposed to support human life, not the other way around. The legitimacy of any economic principle must stem from this utility in making human life better. Given the system failures we've discussed, we must ask, Is there hope for a fairer, open, more equitable economy that benefits the individual as well as the greater good? The answers surprisingly come from ancient wisdom. The rest of this presentation is looking at the ancient wisdom. Next slide.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sabeshaya. And as Sabeshaya mentioned, so many of you would have heard the word Kailasa or the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and we wanted to take this opportunity to introduce you to Kailasa. Kailasa is the revival of the ancient, enlightened Sanatana Hindu civilization nation. I'm sure many of us when we were kids in school, we learned about the Egyptians, we learned about the Mayan civilization, the Aztecs, the Chinese, but right now, the only civilization which is alive is the Hindu civilization till today. And why is that? Is because of the Guru Parampara, the Guru Shishya lineage, where the ancient knowledge is passed down from generations. And today, amongst all of us, we have the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, who is the 1008th incarnation of Bhagavan Paramashiva, come down and recognized as an incarnation by hundreds of thousands of Mahamandaleshwar spiritual gurus as the person who is the leader, reviver, and the founder of Kailasa, the only Hindu nation right now. And the goal of Kailasa is to revive these ancient traditions and give solutions to the current problems that humanity is facing. In this specific instance, we are talking about the economy, where, as the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism beautifully revealed in 2020 itself, after the COVID-19 pandemic, the whole world order itself has shifted. And right now, you might see the economy stumbling, you might see everything that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism revealed has come true in the past 5 years and is most relevant today. And Kailasa stands as a support system, as a safety net, as a solution to all of these problems that we are facing today. To give an additional background about Kailasa, Kailasa is the first nation for Hindus to re-establish, preserve, and protect the ancient Hindu civilization. We can go to the next slide. And you can compare Kailasa to just like how the Vatican serves as an administration for the Catholic Church across the globe. Kailasa serves as this central administration for the 2 billion living and practicing Hindus all over the world. And Kailasa's aim is to serve the religious and spiritual needs of these 2 billion Hindus, and also to provide the solutions, the best that Hinduism can offer to the whole world. We can go to the next slide. To also introduce the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, His Divine Holiness Bhagavan Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam, is the reviver of the United States of KAILASA, and he has dedicated his life for almost over 40 years for reviving Kailasa, reviving this great Hindu civilization nation, and to give to the world humanitarian services, blessings, boons, and everything that the humanity needs, right from the humanitarian needs all the way till awakening the consciousness of the humanity itself. The vision of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has come to life with the establishment of Kailasa, which is a unique nation built on not capitalism or any of the exploitative principles, rather principles of ahimsa and advaita. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is continuously contributing to humanity and preserving and sharing this authentic Hinduism with the world. And Swamiji's teachings have reached more than 150 countries and giving a new hope, a solution to the current state of the world. We can go to the next slide. So just to give a context, you might have a question that you keep talking about the Hindu economy. Are you meaning any specific country, or on what basis are we talking about the Hindu economy? The Hindu economy, just to take you into a small historical background of the Hindu economy, hundreds of years ago, the Hindu economy flourished under the Hindu principles, and we have so many of the Shastras, the Vedic texts, which give evidence of the Hindu economy being the richest economy in the world. At the peak, the Bharat, which existed, where Bharat had the most concentration of the Hindu population, Bharat shared over 40% of the whole global GDP. And this has even been quoted by multiple historians. This has been documented as facts. And Hindus are actually one of the most educated and one of the most successful diaspora in many countries, including the United States. And according to the Pew Research Center, Hindus are among the most highly educated religious groups in the United States. Over 7 in 10 Hindu adults have a bachelor's degree or higher. And even in the income, the Pew Research Center also reports that Hindus have the highest household incomes, and almost 36% of Hindus live in households with over an income of $100,000. And this is the success of not the Hindus today, but the lifestyle that Hindus have lived for thousands of years. We can go to the next slide. And of course, we have many of the economic texts of Hinduism to back this fact and also to guide on the economic principles. So this is not some invented process. This is not something that we are making up right now. This is hundreds and thousands years of old, time-tested, foolproof, historical ways of how Hindus maintained their economy, not thousands of years ago, even today in the present day. For example, we have the Vedas, which are the source scriptures of Hinduism. We have the Upanishads. We have the Arthashastra. Arthashastra is a comprehensive, almost a treatise on statecraft that details principles of a functional and prosperous state. It emphasizes about a fair and systematic taxation system, the importance of trade and commerce, and many agricultural and societal principles to facilitate economic activity and ensure that its citizens are kept in its utmost priority. We also have the various other foundational texts where Hinduism has, in our Shastras, in our Vedas and Agamas, in our source scriptures, for example, the Apastamba Sutras, the Dharmashastras by Yajnavalkya Sutras, and even by sage Vashishta, all of them have given various economic principles which are relevant even in the present day, where countries can adopt and learn from these Hindu principles, and these Hindu principles have been decoded and presented by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism as a livable science, as a practical applied science, which is what Kailasa uses in its day-to-day functioning, and which Kailasa can even teach and share with the whole world.
Tomorrow I'm bringing my lunch. I'm bringing things to eat. I just can't sit, just get.
We've heard a lot in the previous slides about the challenges facing modern economies. First of all, we have wealth inequality, where 1% of the population controls half of all wealth of the society. We have youth unemployment, where the majority of graduates are unemployable. And with the advent of AI, that number is only rapidly rising. There was actually a study in the US recently where they showed that Gen Z, the number of Gen Z who think that they can achieve marriage and homeownership by the age of 30 is in the single digits now. That was 50% a few decades ago. Any society where the youth can't achieve basic milestones like marriage and homeownership is not a functioning society, and we're going to rapidly see the results of that. And finally, we're facing the limits of fiat currency. As I mentioned previously, since COVID-19, the debt spending in modern economies has skyrocketed, and that number is only getting worse, to the point where here in the US, there's a real debate now over whether we can even pay our interest payments on the national debt in the next few years. Any one of these issues would be a systemic crisis for any economy, but now we're facing all three of these at once. So there's a great need for a new model, a new approach, new ideas. And SPH, Bhagavan Nithyananda through KAILASA, has offered solutions for each one of these things. All of these solutions are rooted in ancient wisdom, tied back to sacred source scriptures of Hinduism, ranging from the Rig Veda to the Arthashastra. And also it puts humans back at the center of the economy, that humans are not a number, we're not a GDP, we're not a resource to be extracted, but we are the purpose of society. And an economy that does not serve humans is an economy that is not going to last very long. And we're seeing that today. So putting humans back and human flourishing back at the central goal of our economy and society is at the heart of KAILASA's economic model. And also modern relevance. Now we're seeing that these ancient ideas, which brought Bharat to a state of massive economic wealth and prosperity, need to be brought back to the modern world, to be made new again. And that's exactly what SPH is doing through KAILASA. KAILASA offers a transformative alternative to failing economic paradigm, new, but entirely ancient and old and rooted in ancient indigenous traditions. But it provides a new paradigm, one based on responsibilism, the idea that people, their wealth is tied to the notion that they take responsibility for others around them, for the problems in their society, and putting people first, that the system has to serve people first and foremost. And if they're not flourishing, nothing else matters. No other metric can be justified if humans are not flourishing. Dana, the notion of charity. KAILASA, as we'll go into in next sections, there are certain aspects of human society, such as education and medical care, that are meant to be free, that are meant to be available. Knowledge should not be the province of the 1%. It should be something available to everybody at no cost. And finally, Advaita. Advaita is the concept of oneness at the heart of Hinduism. The notion that we are not separate, we are all connected, we are all part of one unifying whole. And if we behave that way, we can really serve humanity and serve ourselves in the process. So responsibilism is the core principle behind SPH's vision for a Hindu economy. The whole economic framework is founded on this idea, and it transcends modern conventional economic theories. In capitalism, we have the notion that the only good, the only goal of any capitalist system is to maximize shareholder value, to maximize profits. And we've seen the results of that system. It leads to massive exploitation. It leads to situations where CEOs choose profit over people. Here in the US, you see it in our food system. Food prices may have come down over time, but it's led to very broken food model, which is controlled by a few massive factory farms. And we're now eating food-like products, not actual food anymore. It's not organic. It's neither healthy. It's leading to social, medical issues that are, the biggest expenses in people's lives now have become medical costs. And that starts with the food. So capitalism has shown its limits here in the West. And on the other side, you have socialism and communism. And both those models lead to state control of all resources. And that may be fine in theory, but ultimately, if a few people control everything, even if the communism is the guiding principle, it leads to negative results because a few control everything. What we need is responsibilism. Responsibilism is beyond capitalism, it's beyond socialism, it's beyond communism. And it ties wealth to responsibility. That an individual's wealth is directly proportional to the responsibility they take for society. Are they enriching people? Are they helping people? Are they serving others? If they are, their wealth only increases because the whole purpose of wealth is to serve humanity. It's to expand the pie and serve the broader human good, not just exploit and extract and steal and grab. It's a model that emphasizes human contribution and enriching others as the primary drivers of prosperity. And it is an ethical economic system, unlike capitalism, which only focuses on profit, which only focuses on numbers and metrics. Responsibilism ties economics back to human flourishing. Is it good for others? Is it helping them? It's an ethical framework versus a purely mathematical framework, which views people as simple resources and numbers on a spreadsheet. Responsibilism ensures that economic activity is inherently tied to social well-being, thereby fostering a system where individuals are rewarded for their positive impact on the collective. So the individual is rewarded, and so is the collective. Thereby, it squares the circle of capitalism versus communism, which has been a massive debate for Western civilizations for decades now. I'll give the floor to my next presenter. Okay, I can, so Paramashiva has defined several economic principles. Paramashiva's teachings provide unique concepts that are directly applicable to modern economic problems. And these principles are at the heart of KAILASA. They're actually being implemented on the ground in KAILASA, being proven to work in KAILASA. So first we have wealth. And wealth is the ability to intelligently enrich society in various forms and inspire humanity to contribute back. Again, it's tied to social well-being, human flourishing, not just numbers, but people. And that enables continuous enrichment. And it's a dynamic model that is circular. It shares prosperity. It gives back to people. It doesn't just take and keep wealth hoarded by a very few. It keeps wealth circulating amongst the people. And finally, it fosters collective growth. It benefits everyone, not just the person becoming wealthy, but everybody. Second, we have currency. Currency is the methodology through which interactions and transactions occur. And the value is derived in a currency from remaining current. Is it circulating? Is it not stagnant? Is it still moving and dynamic and helping others? Is it facilitating exchange interaction? Therefore, it stays in motion. It doesn't just get stuck in one place, in one person's bank vault. The idea is that it's constantly flowing throughout society and serving everybody. And finally, we have this notion of the economy, which is the collective wealth consciousness across the entire society, across multiple individuals. And it leads to an interconnected consciousness and a continuous flow of wealth and currency. These definitions are important because they create a more conscious economy, an economy where people are conscious beings, where they're looking to help others and to serve others, and thinking about how they can better humans' life. And here we will hear SPH speak on his concept of wealth.
If you understand Sadashiva's concept of currency and Sadashiva's concept of wealth and Sadashiva's concept of economy. I'm defining wealth as per Sadashiva from Agamas. Your ability to intelligently enrich the society in some form. Enriching does not mean only through teaching. It can even be stitching their shoes. Even that is enriching. Enriching in some form. Enriching the humanity in some form and doing it very intelligently and inspiring the humanity to contribute back to you so you can continue to enrich. That's it. That is wealth. That is wealth consciousness. That's a strategy for wealth. Currency is modus operandi, the methodology through which interaction and transactions happen is currency. If the wealth consciousness is awakened in multiple people and you make the currency more current, that is called economy. That's all. Understand, I've defined these three words clearly. I've clearly defined these three words. Wealth, currency, economy. End of the day, just if your existence makes money, you will not be bothered about money. Your very consciousness will live wealthy. The economy Sadashiva is teaching is neither capitalism, nor communism, or socialism. It is responsibilism. The responsibility you take, that decides the kind of the wealth going to be around you.
Are you speaking on this next? Or
Yes. So to expand on the four Purusharthas, so in our Vedic tradition, in Sanatana Hindu Dharma, Kailasa's framework, it aligns to the four Purusharthas. So let us see what are these four. So the first is Dharma. Dharma is the cosmic law, the righteousness, what is right, what is wrong, doing things only which finally results in completion with yourself and the other person. So not exploiting, not taking advantage of, not using any malpractice, and only with the intention of enriching yourself and the other person. When you act out of that space is what is dharma. The next is artha. Artha is the prosperity and wealth, where it gives us the guidance on how we should attract wealth. We are not saying that wealth, being wealthy or having wealth is wrong. It is only the how you carry yourself and how you acquire the wealth that needs to be changed, that needs to be enhanced to make sure that finally it is a win-win for all 8 billion people on this planet. The third is Kama. Our Vedic tradition also gives the various texts which even talk about the psychological values that drive the human motivation. And of course, moksha, which is the goal of our life. where liberation and being rooted in completion and the spiritual values that you hold is what is moksha. And when you operate out of these four, it is not out of fear, it is not out of greed, it is not out of jealousy, comparison, or any other emotion which drives you in your day to day life. When you operate out of these four principles, automatically that economic policy, when the economic policy supports these four principles, that is one of the highest and most accurate economic policy that gives a holistic approach to gaining wealth, sustaining wealth, and distributing wealth equally across everyone. We can go to the next slide. And also, in Sanatana Hindu Dharma, the principle of Advaita is oneness, and that is fundamental to Kailasa's economic policy, which is derived from the Vedas and Agamas. So in the Ishavasya Upanishad, the first verse that which means very beautifully it is given in the Vedas that consciousness is the one that pervades everything. All this, whatever moves in the moving world, is enveloped by the divine. And it also says that Magrudakasya Svidhanam, which basically means that do not find enjoyment in coveting the wealth of anyone, find your enjoyment in renunciation. So the first verse of one of the source scriptures of the first Upanishad of our source scriptures reveals clearly that it gives the guidelines how we should be focused towards moksha and not towards coveting the wealth of others. And wealth in Hinduism is not just a utility value. Many people mistake the difference between currency and wealth. Wealth is not currency. Wealth is the smile that you find in your child's face. Wealth is the satisfaction that you have when you do dana, you do charity. That is wealth. Wealth is not currency, and when you know this in your day to day life, you start seeing everything in a different lens. When in your business, at home, or wherever you are, you start not trying to extract or trying to covet the wealth of others. Rather, you see it as an expansion of your enlightenment, your realization. And as the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism beautifully put it, that the wealth is not going to be the currency or the number of zeros in your bank account. The wealth is what you hold, what you consciously build inside of you. And when every single person lives in this same space, that is what creates an enlightenment ecosystem. It fosters the enlightenment based ecosystem where these economic principles, it benefits all, and so that the whole ecosystem right now in the current modern day, the whole economy is literally melting people down. People are falling into depression. People are not able to live by the current economic policies. Rather, the Hindu economy and the economic solutions, when practiced, given by Kailasa, it evolves a whole ecosystem where each one only supports each other, and it becomes an enlightenment based ecosystem.
Thank you. Sorry for the delay. So, as Maharaj alluded to this, and we're going on to the next slide, which clearly says one thing. This is a people-first, human as the center of the economy. A defining characteristic of the Kailasa economy is its people-first approach, placing individuals ahead of profits and material wealth. His Holiness emphatically states, people are wealth, people are life, people are energy, and finally, people are God. Give everything to people. People bring everything you need. This principle naturally flows from the focus on dharma and moksha, ensuring that the economy serves humanity's holistic well-being. In this system, people and Paramashiva are considered co-creators of money with the ability to intelligently contribute, the intelligent contribution is being the true wealth. Next slide.
The next, we will be talking about the non-violent and non-exploitative economic principles. In Kailasa's economy, we have the four main pillars that support the economy, which guide everyone on how they should carry themselves and to develop the ecosystem where each one supports each other. And these four pillars are the ahimsa, non-violence, asteya, non-stealing, aparigraha, non-possessiveness, and satya, which is truthfulness. In the modern day, yes, we have these values, but many times all of us forget or put aside these values for our personal gain, and because of the ecosystem of being in a capitalistic or consumeristic lifestyle, it is unfortunate that these principles are forgotten in our day-to-day lives. Ahimsa extends to all economic activities, ensuring that the businesses doesn't cause harm to individuals, animals, or the environment. For example, as Vinesh Ayya was talking about, how even in our food, the companies, the fast food companies are ready to put chemicals, plastic, or whatever it takes to minimize the cost of the food while knowing that it is harmful to a normal human being. And this is a simple example of which is direct violence towards the human beings who are eating those food. And that is what, when we practice ahimsa, it then becomes a win-win, where the person giving the food, many of us can see the annalayas which Kailasa has, which we'll be expanding in the later parts of the section also, where just by giving free food, Kailasa is able to enrich so many human beings, and those human beings, out of gratitude, do give their donations in return. This is what is a prosperous ecosystem going towards the space of a good economic society. Next, we have the asteya, non-stealing, which emphasizes fair and honest dealings, prohibiting any form of theft or illicit gain in economic transactions. I'm sure many of us know about how corrupt many systems are, how the bribery has become a daily fashion, and this is what makes the economy of many countries crumble, because they are not able to handle the corruption in their system. And this can be changed when people do not steal, when you don't have the deep state in the government trying to literally use the citizens and gain everything for themselves. Also, we have aparigraha, which is non-possessiveness, which encourages conscious consumptions and discourages excessive accumulation of wealth, which beautifully we saw in the last segment, where Ravi Ayya explained how 1% or 2% of the world's population is holding more than 90% of the whole world's economy. And this has also been proven, this has also been given in many studies, including the recent reports from Oxfam International, where the billionaire wealth surged dramatically in the last year, growing by trillions of dollars, while the number of people living in poverty has seen only a drastic, it has only gone up in the past one decade, where 1% hold a vast portion of the global assets, while almost 50% of the world are living in the poverty line or under the poverty line. And of course, we have the basic value of satya, which is truthfulness, which upholds transparency and honesty in all transactions, which is literally the underlying fabric with which all economic dealings need to happen. And in Kailasa's economic principles, in Kailasa's economic ecosystem, we do not promote or we prohibit industries like drugs, alcohol, and exploitative, any policy which exploits a person or any living being or anything in that matter, or any business that can cause harm to any individual. For example, even in many countries, they literally give, the alcohol is cheaper than even drinking water. And this is the poor state of our economy, where basic necessities are even given less priority than those substances which put people into depression, which are controlling the people, addicting the people. Instead of that, Kailasa's economic policies promote the businesses that are based on all of these four principles, businesses that enrich both sides of the transaction and fosters ownership and shared responsibility. And these are the four principles with which any business is evaluated, any transaction, any economic decision is evaluated in Kailasa. And as we explained earlier, dana, we can go to the next slide. Dana is one of the most important part of the Hindu economy, where dana is the principle of charity and enriching. There are multiple scriptures in the Rig Veda and other source scriptures which talk about dana. Many of us feel that when we do charity, it is only the currency which is going out of our pocket. But many of us don't understand that just by doing the dana, it is that part of you are enriching to gain more and give more to sustain the economy. For example, we have the various truths, the Shastra Pramana in the Rig Veda and other Shastras, which beautifully say that the happiness of his subjects lies in the king's happiness, in their welfare, his welfare. He shall not consider as good only that which is dear to him, but as good as which is dear to his subjects. This is directly from the Arthashastra, which basically gives the economic principles of how the kings, how the business owners, how the top tier of the economic chain should function, where he does not focus on his wealth, rather the wealth, the happiness, the fortune of his employees, of his citizens. And we have a beautiful contrast in the Hindu tradition where it compares two divinity, two objects of our Hindu history. One is Kubera, one of the divinities in Hinduism, where the wealth that is only stagnant, which is unproductive, it only maintains as a zero in the bank account, which disrupts the whole economy. Rather, we have Devi, a goddess who represents the wealth, the circulation of currency in Sanatana Hindu Dharma, which represents the circulating wealth that generates prosperity. And whenever you do dana, if you ask anybody who has given for charity, who has given, or even in Kailasa, we have many of our Sarvagnya Pitha Yajamans and Kartas, including of many of our, actually all of our panelists today. And they can share every one of their experience when they gave for the betterment of humanity, when they gave their wealth for the betterment, for serving the humanity. It never only went, and it always came back multifold. And that is the economic principle with which Kailasa functions, with which the Hindu economy functions, that when you give, when you maintain circulating economy always comes back to you, and that punya that you get, the auspiciousness, the quality in you that you start growing consciously, it keeps only multiplying and making yourself more wealthy. We can go to the next slide. Kailasa's economic framework departs from the traditional birth-based hierarchies, where we have the various families or networks of people who constantly hoard the wealth and do not share it with anybody else. Rather, Kailasa maintains an all-inclusive economic system where, as the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism beautifully said, it is based on responsibility that somebody's economy is decided. It is not based on caste or creed or religion or race. It is only the responsibility that measures someone's economic worth in Hinduism. And in Kailasa, to donate this high level of responsibility, this high level of consciousness, the various rituals, practices, and the day-to-day life, the Charya Pada, which is practiced to ensure the equal status which is given to all members of the society. We can go to the next slide. And while we talk about equality, a very important aspect of equality, of course, is women empowerment, where in the Sanatana Hindu Dharma or in Kailasa, women are held, the divine feminine, of course, as we have the auspicious festival of Navaratri approaching. In Hinduism we are proud to say that we are the only tradition in the world that worships the divine feminine, that worships the divinity in feminine. And in Kailasa, of course, we have a staggering 80% of women in high positions in Kailasa, and even in Hindu families on a day-to-day basis, you will see that it is the women who hold the gold, who hold the wealth in the family. And that is the importance that the Hindu economy, the Kailasa's economy, gives to women, and make sure that both sides, whether it is man or woman, is equally responsible and given the responsibility of wealth in businesses, in any administrative positions, in the leadership positions. And gender equality is a lifestyle in Sanatana Hindu Dharma.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. So there's really 5 basic core concepts and values at the heart of Kailasa's economic vision. First, we have responsibilism, the idea beyond capitalism and beyond socialism and communism, that wealth is directly correlated to responsibility, and that success in that economy and wealth is directly determined by the contribution to the rest of society. This ties to this notion of oneness at the heart of Sanatana Hindu Dharma, that we are all connected. We are all extensions of each other. We are all divine. That we are not individual islands in an ocean. We are actually part of that collective ocean. And that model is completely different from capitalism, where we can extract from others and take from others, and it's a zero-sum game. This creates a non-zero-sum interaction, where by helping others, it helps ourselves. Equality in equal opportunity, as Maharaj just explained, the notion that all human beings are fundamentally divine, that it is not by birth one is superior or inferior, but by their qualities and by their works, by guna and karma. This means men and women are equal, and then there's fair wealth sharing based on the contributions, the skills, the inputs, the knowledge of that person. Not their birth, but what they do. Next, and this is such an important point, is that ethics are baked in. They are central to the economic model. Economics are inseparable from ethics. And because these ethical values of non-violence, of non-stealing, of non-possessiveness, the more we integrate those notions into an economy, it keeps that economy in a grounded level, where it can't be turned and pushed towards profit only. It's still tied towards that fundamental well-being and flourishing of humanity. It integrates wealth with cosmic law. And finally, charity. This notion of dana, that when you give, wealth circulates and it comes back to you. It is not a zero-sum interaction. When you give, you don't lose, you only gain. And it prioritizes the enrichment of society over static accumulation. This is, again, that dynamic notion that wealth should not be hoarded, it should not be kept, it should be shared and kept moving for a healthy economy. So Kailasa, these concepts are great in theory, great in principle. Kailasa is really the place where these principles are being practiced. And here are some examples of how they're being implemented. So, for example, with dana, in Kailasa, the principle is free education, that knowledge is a foundation, that getting skills is a fundamental right of every human being. Holistic healthcare, that we need natural, holistic, traditional medicines available to all, not just to those who can afford it. An agricultural-based economy, and we'll talk more on this later, that grain and can be a physical commodity that backs the currency. That fiat currencies, which are based purely on the whims of a central bank, are not healthy and not sustainable. Rather, we should tie it back to physical things, not just precious metals, but grain and land. A contribution-based economy, where value is time and energy invested in your fellow man. Decentralized finance, where we have a notion very much different from our current model, which is the one where wealth is concentrated and controlled by very few. Instead, we need a decentralized model where it fosters innovation and shares wealth among the many. Finally, a temple-based society. The temple provides the ethical grounding, the spiritual grounding for the entire community, but it also acts as a community hub, an economic hub, an education hub for the entire society as well. The temple is really the nucleus of any Hindu society, and Kailasa is bringing that back in the modern world.
Thank you, Vineshaya. The next one is a free education. The key principle of Kailasa's education system is knowledge should be free, accessible to all regardless of background or circumstances. It is rooted in Dharma Prusottas. The education is meant to help a student align with the four goals of the life: dharma, artha, karma, moksha. The focus is on creating responsible, ethical, and liberated beings, not just for job seeking. The awakening of consciousness, the technique like yoga, meditation, puja, completion process, and initiation are integral part of the education. The goal is to awaken higher intelligence. And also, it has to be free and accessible, in line with the principle that knowledge grows by sharing. Education is considered as a free good. It should be available to all without barriers of wealth, caste, or background. And also is balance of inner and outer science. Inner science meaning spiritual truth, self-realization, yogic sciences, integrity, and ethics. And also it applied the knowledge and the Gurukul system and model on the traditional Gurukul system where a student live and learn in an environment to the free process and learning in freely. It also emphasizes on experiential learning, practical application, and community service, and also funded by collective resources. Gratitude as a payment. Education is seen as a gift of knowledge. To ensure that knowledge is not just for the survival or job, but also conscious living and global enrichment, to create a generation capable of solving social and global crises from a space of higher consciousness. Finally, Kailasa education system defined the education as an important process of awakening higher consciousness while equipping students with a practical knowledge. It is free, holistic, responsibility-centered, non-violent, and aligned to both spiritual liberation and worldly contribution. This also solved youth unemployment, eliminating the debt burden, and also path to the entrepreneurship. Thank you.
We have done so much hard work and we are successful now in organizing ourselves. Soon you will hear the good news and the address where you can come and study peacefully. I'm going to follow, I commit now itself with you guys. I'm going to follow the Hindu economy principles. Education is free. We beg from people. We ask, request, beg people to fund. We ask people, please give us Guru Dakshina. But no one will be denied education because they don't have money. No. No economical reason will stop you getting educated. Now itself I commit with all the Hindus all over the world. This whole Kailasa's NHU, Nithyananda Hindu University, physical campus or virtual university, digital university, both will function with the principle. Hinduism believes strongly knowledge is free. Guru is supposed to beg. from people all over the world, and whatever he gets by begging, with that he has to teach and support students. Please understand, not only knowledge will be free, while you are staying in campus and studying, we will provide all your basic needs, food, stay, clothes, and medical care, all your other bodily maintenance needed, like a housekeeping maintenance. Everything as per Hinduism, all of that will be provided free of cost. I am going to bring legitimacy to Hindu economy principles in every level. Paramashiva says very clearly, some things should be given absolutely free, like a medicine, education, all these should be absolutely free. There are some things which can be bartered, like a sharing, exchange basis. Some things which can be sold. So as per Paramashiva's economy policy, we will run Kailasa. Soon, I will give my third gift, world's largest Hindu university, physical and online, digital.
This is a continuation of the last topic regarding education and how knowledge needs to be free and available to all individuals, regardless of background, regardless of race, regardless of age and circumstance. This education model does two important things. It helps solve the youth unemployment crisis, which we spoke about earlier, because it allows people to gain skills without being in debt for the rest of their lives. It also gives them actionable skills that they can use then for a future career and a pathway to entrepreneurship and professions. And the idea is that society would fund this through charity, through dana, and gratitude is the payment. Each would pay what they are able to contribute back to that education institution or that guru.
Thank you, Vineshaya. So all of this comes down to one important thing: holistic care, holistic healthcare, and food security. Paramashiva's Agamas emphasize that daily living essentials like healthcare, clothing, and food should be created in a self-sufficient manner. This stands in stark contrast to the modern consumption-based economy, which often outsources basic needs, leading to dependencies on food-like products. This leads to declining public health and overall, and also mental health. Kailasa's economy revives the traditional concept of wealth from the ocean, Sanganidhi, and ground, Padmanidhi, elevating grain to the same level of importance as gold. Next slide. This shift promotes self-sustaining ecosystems where health is paramount and healthcare too, and moves beyond a sickness and cure model to a holistic preventative care in nature with harmony, treating individuals as conscious beings rather than isolated biomechanical systems. This directly addresses wealth inequality by ensuring fundamental well-being for all, irrespective of their financial status. Next slide. SPH Nithyananda Paramashivam prophesizes a profound shift in currency-based economy. The currency-based economy is going to collapse and grain-based economy is going to come. He urges a return to a vegetarian lifestyle and the practice of growing one's own food through agriculture and vertical gardening. Grain will regain its importance, trading like money, much like traditional economies. Historically, food grain banks were crucial for food security in Hindu nations. Providing grain loans with simple interest and writing off debts during famines is a tradition that was tragically destroyed during the colonial times, leading to mass starvation. The recent revival of such a grain bank by farmers in Bihar during COVID-19 lockdowns demonstrate its modern-day relevance. In this new order, not only food, but also medicine will return to its roots. Food and medicine should come from the land, not from the labs, SPH has mentioned. SPH also identifies castor oil and haritaki as the new goal for detoxification to be distributed freely as a fundamental aspect of health and well-being. Next slide.
And in Hindu tradition, the two layer, the economic principle, one is the currency. Technically in Sanskrit, if I translate that concept, it's called grain-based currency, means just by possessing and owning, it has its own utility value, whether the grains are the precious metals, precious gems. By its own value, it has a value. There is no other regulatory body required to establish its value. By you owning and the way it is used, demanded in the society, healthy society, by this simple existence, it has value. Second, the regulatory body always made sure the principle of enlightenment was kept alive in all their regulatory principles. How and why gold should be precious metal? How and why? What gems will be considered as precious? Everything. The whole regulating mechanism was enlightenment centric. Understand? Rajaraja, for example, builds a huge temples. All of you need to know, it's not that he built only Tanjore temple. Please understand. He built large number of temples. Krishnadevaraya built large number of temples. I should say that all great known kings of Hinduism, whether Cambodia or Somanath or Chidambaram or Tanjore or Jagannath or Nepal or Sri Lanka, anywhere the Hindu civilization was prevalent. It was all temple-centric, temple-based, because that was the source of our knowledge, our economy, principles, systems, and strategies. Temple building and sustenance was one of the most beautiful method to keep the economy current. Currency has value only as long as the current is kept alive. So the current is kept alive to keep the value of the currency through this large size temple building and running. I tell you, the concept of common debt is the story of Venkateshwara borrowing money from Kubera for his marriage and still repaying. It's a most beautiful story. If you understand that story, you will understand this concept of common debt. How beautifully, dharmically, the modern day concept of common debt is expressed in the story of Venkateshwara borrowing money from Kubera for his marriage and still repaying the loan.
Just to expand more on the holistic healthcare and food security, as Sabeshaya was expanding on it, the self-sufficiency is the principle of Kailasa's economy, where in all Kailasas across the globe, all the ecosystems are encouraged to have their own gardens, and even whether it is spiritually or even in a economic perspective, growing your own vegetables, growing your own the crops you need for your health is one of the most organic ways of living, which is what Swamiji, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, has revived in this modern day. And agriculture is the foundation for economic security, as we have seen, whether it is in the pandemic or in the ongoing economic crisis. It is when you are self-sufficient with the basic agriculture, you do not need to be disturbed by the various turbulences in the economy which is being caused by the new world order.
In Hindu tradition, doctors are paid not based on you falling sick, but based on your income. Whole village gives share from the harvest to the doctor. Doctor makes sure the whole village is healthy. This is called healthy medical industry. See, only by you falling sick, doctor is going to gain money. How do you expect doctor should be praying for your health? If the policies are impractical, why are you demanding extreme moral standards from doctors? Tell me. Policies should be practical. If policies are impractical and constantly blaming doctors, accusing doctors, come on, that's impractical, wrong. Policy should be right. When doctor knows the village's health my county's health, my taluk's health, my area's health is going to make me more wealthy. He will do research on your diet. He will support you in every level to be healthy, because your health makes him wealthy, not your sickness. Your body is not income source for him. Your active life is income source for him. Understand the shift. This is Hindu economic policies. So, the Kailasa will have the same policies. In Kailasa, we will be practicing these same policies.
Also, as part of Kailasa's economic policies, we have the contribution-based currency, which is the Shiva Punya, where the value is determined by contribution, not just by profit or hoarding. Even in Kailasa's parliamentary structure, the contribution, the responsibility which is taken by the parliament members is what makes them the parliament members of Kailasa. It is not by status, it is not by race, or it is not by caste or creed. It is by the responsibility that each one of the members of Kailasa's Rajya Sabha, Kailasa's parliament is taking, whether it is in the aspect of generating the good work, doing the good activities that Kailasa is performing, or generating the resources for doing those good activities in any way in our Chitsabha, Rajsabha and other wings of Kailasa's parliament. It is only based on the contribution that each one is putting, whether it is their time, their energy, and that is what is regarded as the contribution, and that is how Kailasa's economy functions. And this beautiful ecosystem, it evolves a sattvic, non-corruption based ecosystem where nobody is able to control all the wealth, nor the wealth or the recognition is being stopped at a level that people are not able to receive the basic benefits. And that is the beauty of the economic system established and revived by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, where the societal contribution, each one plays a role in the development of their ecosystem, and that is what makes it a collective ecosystem where each one contributes and there is no hoarding, corruption, or any of the negative aspects of the modern day ecosystems.
Thank you, Maharaj. The next topic we are going to talk about the decentralized finance. The decentralized finance in Kailasa means the financial ecosystem where wealth, resources, and decision-making are not centralized in a single authority, but distributed across communities and aligned with rightness and non-violence and non-storing common contribution. It ensures that no one can exploit or monetize wealth, and that financial power is spread among people and temple guided by highly respected principles. The key features of centralized finance under Kailasa: no central ownership of wealth, the donation to temples, organization, and are contributed as belonging to the deities or the cosmos, not individual. Leaders or administrators only manage fund, they don't own them. And also the community-based resource management. The local communities, sanghas, and temples take responsibility for producing, storing, and distributing the wealth like a food, medicine, shelter, and currency. The decision making is collective and transparent. And Kailasa, in the economic sense, every donation or financial resources has a dedicated purpose. Temple upkeep, education, food distribution. Money is never diverted to unrelated uses. And self-sufficiency and the local production. Instead of relying on the globalized supply chain or centralized cooperation, communities aim to produce their own food, healthcare, and also shelter needs. The wealth must keep moving through contribution and service. Storing or speculation is discouraged as it creates inequality. And finally, the purpose of decentralized financial in Kailasa to eliminate wealth inequality by preventing central control or monopoly, to empower communities with financial autonomy, to align all financial activities with spiritual and ethical principles, to protect Kailasa's citizen from dependence on unstable fiat economies and also unwanted financial system. Finally, decentralized finance under Kailasa means dharmic, community-driven financial system where wealth belongs to the collective, not individual, where money is circulated for service, not for storing, and where alternative currencies and local production ensure self-sufficiency and independent and distribution of wealth evenly. Thank you. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Ravi. So, Kailasa's economic model offers direct and powerful solutions to wealth inequality, as Ravi mentioned. These are based on a few points. The first one is responsibilism. This ensures that wealth is tied to intelligence, societal enrichment, and the responsibility one takes, inherently preventing the concentration of wealth purely for personal gain. The emphasis on Lakshmi wealth, circulating money through mandatory charity, dana, ensures that wealth is continuously distributed and prevents static accumulation in the hands of a few. A non-exploitative labor philosophy invests workers in the outcomes, promoting equitable distribution of wealth based on skill and input and giving them true ownership. The proposed decentralized Hindu Reserve Bank with its distributed ownership structure actively prevents the centralization of financial power, promoting broader and more equitable participation. Finally, the provision of free education, holistic healthcare, and self-sufficient food system removes fundamental financial barriers and ensuring basic well-being for all and creating a more level economic playing field. Thank you. Next slide.
So next we see how Kailasa addresses the youth unemployment, which is an ongoing crisis in the modern day. In Kailasa, first of all, the education is free, where it doesn't trap you in the debt cycle. For example, I'm sure all of us can relate with this in our day-to-day lives, where you have taken a student loan and you had to complete your education, and then you go for a job to pay off the student loan. And by the time you pay off your student loan, you have a child, and that child next has to go to college. To go to college, that child takes a student loan, and that child goes to job, to finish the student loan. And this is how the whole economy is functioning today, where the individual is put into the cycle of having debt in education, which is a right to every single person. In the Vedic tradition, in Sanatana Hindu Dharma, education is not used as a weapon to make you to work your whole life, to exploit you, to pay back for just receiving a degree that you have earned. Rather, it gives you education to enhance yourself, to build the economy. So instead of being a load on the economy by trying to repay your debts, you become an active member to enhance the economy. And that is one of the important policies of Kailasa's economy, and which doesn't allow the youth to be wasted by paying off their student loans. Second is, of course, agriculture-based economy, where hundreds and thousands of individuals have an option, where in the modern day, many jobs are becoming irrelevant, many career paths are becoming irrelevant, and there is a huge unemployment rate with AI looming over our heads. And one of the most tangible place where anyone can utilize their time, treasure, and talent is agriculture. Because at the end of the day, humans cannot eat AI. Humans need the food to exist, and the agriculture-based economy are the only economies which are going to survive, and that is one of the biggest solution that Kailasa gives to youth all over the world, where youth can take up self-sufficiency, making every ecosystem, making every place self-sufficient, where they don't need to rely on the fiat currency-based economies, and you can rely on your ecosystem, where each individual is empowered to support the ecosystem, to support their local economies by their time, treasure, and talent. Also in Kailasa, one of the important aspects is the economy based on innovation. In Kailasa, we don't believe in the youth going towards the path of just becoming an engineer or doctor, which millions of youth are being pushed into. Each individual is encouraged, is given the signs on how they can choose their career path and the careers of their whole lineage, which is again mentioned in the Vedas and Agamas, where when you follow the career of your parents, you excel more than your parents excelled. And that goes into a virtuous cycle where you are able to innovate more, advance more in technology, advance more in a contributing based economy. And of course, we have the lifelong learning, where individuals are given the tools, given the resources to continuously improve in their fields and go more and more towards an enlightenment based economy and enlightenment based lifestyle, instead of going towards a lifestyle where paying your bills and clearing your debts is the only way to go forward.
SPH Bhagavan Nithyananda reminds us that the legitimacy and usefulness of any economic system is tied directly to the benefits it offers to actual human beings and to their flourishing. He solves the problems of capitalism versus communism through responsibilism, and he shows us that the ancient world, through Sanatana Hindu Dharma, we can find solutions to all the modern ills that we're facing in our modern economy, whether it's wealth inequality, whether it's runaway debt and inflation, or youth unemployment. We learned about how the Kailasa economy believes in free essentials. Things like food, healthcare, education should be free to all, no matter what their means are. And that by doing this, It's an investment in that society. It provides education provides employment opportunities. Healthcare keeps a healthy population, which is not a burden on society. And it also leads to self-sufficient food systems, where food is not controlled by a few, but it becomes a community affair. We learned about the agricultural temple model, where we have a grain-backed currency, which puts grain and land at the forefront of the currency, not a central bank, which can, by its whims, inflate and deflate. It ties the economy back to reality, back to the land, as well as a temple-based civilization, where the temple acts as the nucleus, the hub for that broader community, acting as an educational hub, acting as a commerce hub, and a spiritual hub especially. We learned about decentralized finance, where a Hindu reserve bank that is community-run can operate with ethical principles like ahimsa, nonviolence, and non-stealing and non-exploitation, thereby tying investments back to human good and positive causes, not exploitation. We learned about the cosmic currency that would be backed by agricultural resources, and therefore immune to inflation and deflation. All of these various features provide the solutions to the three areas we discussed earlier, three problem areas of our modern economy: wealth inequality, youth unemployment, and debt and inflation. Through our ancient wisdom and ancient scriptures, SPH has shown us that there is hope, that there is an alternative model to the systems we currently are using and which are currently breaking apart ever since COVID. From ancient wisdom flows a new economic paradigm. That's SPH's mission in the world, to create a superconscious society, and KAILASA is the means to get there, here and now.
Yes, Vinishaya, and also before we come to the end of this session, we also wanted to take questions from our audience here in Zoom and also on all our social media platforms. And we actually have one of our social media viewer asking, how does the system support those who are unable to contribute, such as the elderly, children, or individuals with severe disabilities? Vinishaya, would you want to answer this question?
Sure. I know Swamiji has mentioned how for the elderly, they are a font of wisdom. They have life experience. They have so much knowledge to share with the world. Elderly people, they're not to be shunted away in some retirement home. They should be in our communities. They should be with our kids. They should be with everyone to teach them the lessons they've learned and share their wisdom. It's true for children as well. It's true for the disabled. Everyone has something to offer. Everyone has knowledge. Everyone has abilities, and everyone has something to share. And by tapping those resources, it only entire. So, though in our modern economy, those seen as liabilities, kids are a liability because you have to pay for daycare. Parents are a liability to pay for.
For people who are doing small businesses to improve in all aspects, do KAILASA can help them to improve and more successful and sustainable? Ravi Ayya, Sabeshaya, would you like to answer this?
Sure, I am. The answer I have for this is the KAILASA model talks about self-sufficiency as a primary goal. So small business are very integral to manage small communities, which are part of a conglomerate of a large communities. So KAILASA's big focus is self-sufficiency and making sure everybody contributes to the community. So which is a big focus for small business, rather than having large corporations take over something and produce products and goods that are not relevant to the community and the economic benefits of members of the community.
Thank you, Sabesh. Let me add a few more points to Sabesh Aya's comment. Swamiji told many times and mentioned that everybody should be a business owner and everybody should focus on owning a business with their unique talent. And everyone, according to Swamiji, and everyone has the unique talent and a purpose, and they have to find their uniqueness to improve and empower and become a business owners. So the SPH clearly mentioned many times there are many paths within our Sangha to gain knowledge and strength to become a business owners and sustain their business model. I think there are a lot of materials available within the Sangha to gain with your uniqueness and prosper with that uniqueness to sustain and empower and enrich with your own business. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Raviaya and Sabeshaya. And with this, we also wanted to take a moment to invite all of our viewers watching us live and to also tell the world that this economy that we spoke about today, which is the Hindu economy, is it is thousands of years old, yet relevant in our day-to-day lives, relevant today in today's world. And Kailasa offers a vision and a model to the whole world for being the revival of this ancient Hindu economy. And Kailasa invites all of you to learn more about these Hindu economic policies. And whether you are a statesman, whether you are a citizen, whether you are a business owner, or you're a child going to college, all of you can benefit directly from these at various levels. And we invite all of you to join us at the UAN Paramashiva Sena Summit happening in St. Kitts and Nevis from the 1st of October to the 1st of November. And of course, you can visit Kailasa's online platform at kailasa.org, and you can also find us on all the social media platforms. And we also want to take a moment, if you have any more questions about the Hindu economic policies, you can even go to nityananda.ai, which is the AI Ask Nithyananda, the AI, the world's first spiritual AI, which is directly given as a gift from the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, which has all of the answers to any of the questions you have related to the Hindu economy. And it is literally a reservoir of knowledge that you can now access through the gift of AI. We also have the UAN's official website at unitedancientnations.org, and you can register for the Paramashiva Sena program at ecitizen.info/PSS. And with this, I would like to thank all our panelists, Vineshaya, Sabeshaya, and Raviaya, and thank the Science Summit organization to invite us to share these truths on the ancient Hindu principles and share with you the gifts that Kailasa and the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism can bring to the world, and for giving us such a beautiful platform that we can share with. I would like to thank all the viewers watching us live on the various social media platforms and those who have joined us in Zoom. And we would like to conclude this session with the Purna Mantra. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Bhagavat Shri Nityananda Paramashiva Padukarpanamastu. Om Nityanandam.